All right, hopefully this battery holds up. I'm gonna do some priming, high build primer. You can see there I got it all prepped out and ready to go. I went back over the bare metal spots with just a brush. And so mixing up this high build, this stuff is thick. Oh my God, it's thick. It's like almost like pouring filler in there, it seemed like. So I may have to reduce it a little bit. This is 4:1. And there's your 4:1. It's right around a little over 2, looks like. So you just gotta I'll probably come up to about here. This is hard to tell. About there. We'll try that, see how it thins out. Yeah, 4 parts. And then we'll mix her up here. Well, that's some thick stuff, man. I'm gonna be like spraying freaking Bondo. I may have should have put my 3.0 tip on there. I'm definitely gonna have to reduce that. I hate that, but I ain't gonna shoot through that gun. That's so thick. And I started up really good in that my gallon pail. Yeah, look how thick that is. That ain't gonna shoot through. That's clumpy. Well, let's grab some of this and see what we can get away with here. Let's try a little splash first and see how that works. Shelf life, or not the shelf life, but the life on this stuff, the gun life is not very long, so you don't want this crap setting up in your gun. This isn't poly, it's high build, but man, it's thick like poly is. So that's better. Still might be a bit thick, but we'll see how it shoots out. I might ought to thin that down just a tad bit more, because it is so damn thick. I don't know that I'll use this stuff again. I don't know, it sprayed out all right on the Jeep, just, gosh, it's so thick, and I said I might as well put poly in here. All right, that should be good. I'm not even gonna waste my time putting a filter in there, because you know that's too thick to run through a dang filter. I may be wasting my time here. That is freaking thick stuff. Oh my God. Got my gun, it's got a 2.0 tip on it. I'll set it up about probably 40 PSI. We'll see how it atomizes out. But holy crap, I got the trigger here fully, or just to where it just met this when you got it fully squeezed. So it's wide open, basically, is what they're gonna call that. And so yeah, it's almost 12 o'clock. So I think this is 30-45 minutes, but I'm guessing it's gonna set quicker than that. I need to put 3 coats on here, so hopefully we can get this done. Hopefully that didn't cover you up. Get these glasses off. Are you still seeing what I'm seeing? Looks like it. All right, good. All right. I gotta set this up at the wall. That's what I got to do. 1,
I usually run at about 70 at the wall. And I can't see anything because I took my glasses off. It sucks to be blind. Look like that's about 40 psi. Yep. We're gonna give that a shot and see what happens. Yep, it's coming out. We'll give her a shot. Oh shit. I put this tape here on one side, forgot to put it on the other. That sucks. So this is that soft edge tape. But I don't want it to make a hard edge. I want it to actually pull up a little bit, so I'm going to kind of pull on it a little bit here for it to be able to blow underneath there. Otherwise, you might as well just put a hard line down, right? So it needs to kind of blow under there, and I realize that's not really how this is supposed to work. But on that, because that's so many contours there, it would make a hard line. So I've got my little gun, buddy. It looks like that'll work. It's not like wonderful. I sprayed it down a little bit dry. We'll spray the next coat on pretty good. Usually about 10-15 minutes to let the flash off. But it's about 80-75 degrees in here. So you can kind of just watch it and see when it's flash. You see it's still wet. So, a lot of times what I'll do on this, I wish that thing wasn't so loud. It's almost ridiculous how loud that is. I apologize for that. A lot of times what I'll do is, in between, because this stuff is so thick, I'll take my gun off like that, take one of these little guys and plug that up, and it'll run me some lacquer thinner through the gun. See how thick that shit was? Looks like I'm running out of lacquer thinner too. But then I let it sit in here. I'll fill it back up like that, and I'll just let it sit in my gun. Until I'm ready to spray again. Because I don't want that stuff sitting up in my gun, so I kind of thin it like that. That's just something I do. Don't know if it's a good idea, bad idea. Alright, what's our battery looking like? Battery isn't great. Oh, I got a new bead roller forming die set, which this guy gifted to me. It's awful nice of him. And man, it's got everything. I'll be able to make anything I can imagine. So yeah, thank you. That was wonderful. And so that and this, beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna wet the floor down. I wiped all this down real good, just to make sure it was fairly clean. But yeah, I'll lay this next bit on somewhat thicker. And I am gonna go ahead and throw some water down here. This is basically all I was doing on this, is just throwing a little water down here on the floor just to keep any dust from kicking up. But I kind of missed that window when I sprayed the first coat. But this will help with some of it. And so anytime you're spraying down, when it hits the floor, anything that's on the floor right there is just going to try to blow back up in your paint. Well, luckily this is primer, so I'm going to sand it all out anyway. But you really, at least in my part of the country, I wet the floor down when I'm painting anything. I think they say south of the Mason-Dixon line you don't have to, and north, or maybe that's backwards, maybe north of Mason-Dixon line, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not even going to quote something I don't know. So, looks like that's flashed off pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get the gun set back up. We'll put her on a little heavier this time. This light's got 3 settings. It's pretty cool. I'll just run that out. There you go. Man, that's thick. Like I said, normally I spray poly with a 3.0 tip. This is a 2.0 tip, which is good for like regular high build, and that's literally what this is just regular high build primer. There's really no reason for it to be that dang thick. That's just ridiculous. It ought to build like a son of a bitch though, right? All right. Let's give this another shot. Perfect. I don't know how good I'm getting that back there, but that's about as good as I can go. It's got epoxy primer back there, so I can always, you know, if it doesn't hit real good, it'll be all right. Now you can see how much better that covered. That first coat was a little bit light. That'll work. I'll be happy with that. Do the same thing. Like I said, I got try about 5 after 12, 7 after 12. So, and you see I put saran wrap on this, but I didn't do it. Well, I did this saran wrap like the last time I sprayed, and I just thought, well, hell, I'll just leave it on there. But this may be pretty boring to a lot of you guys, but some of you guys that never have sprayed, maybe you'll pick something up that I did or did wrong. One or the other, and like I said, you can learn 2 ways from me. You can learn the right way or the wrong way. Just depends on how you're looking at it. And ultimately, I don't care as long as you're learning something. But if you learned how not to do it, give me a thumbs up. Because you learned something, right? Even if it was the wrong way to do it, you learned something. Now I've got a big pail of this. And I got, well, I thought I had an empty cup. It'll be ugly if I try to pour that in there. I'll give her a shot. This is gonna be terrible. Terrible, terrible. Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna get that in there. I ain't that freaking coordinated. I'm gonna get it all over the floor. Yeah, that's about all I need. Just a little bit. So that's lacquer thinner. That's what I use to clean my gun. And of course, you guys know about this little guy here is what I use to clean the gun as well. Yeah, get that in there again. Fill it up, squeeze the trigger, pull, full pull. Let it run out of there. Get that kind of back to silvery. And then go ahead and fill it back up, about like that. Now this is for this only. I mean, I've got this DeCups, DeVilvis DeCup system on here. I'm sure it works with 3M, TPS, or whatever they are. And I'm talking through a respirator, so if you're wondering, that's why. Now that thicker coat I just put on there, that's going to take a bit to kick off, just because it's thicker. Clearly, that's common sense, right? So I may bring you back. It's already starting to kick. You can watch. You can see right through here, it's real shiny. Right through here, it's starting to dry. So it's already starting to kick. But once it's dry like that, you know it's flashed off. That's what you're looking for. So I'm going to use all of that. So if I've got one more coat in it, then I'll use one more coat. If I've got two more in it, I'll go ahead and put two more coats. It just gives you a little bit more to sand, a little bit more cushion. And so there you go. There's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, usually about 3 to 4 coats of primer is what I do. I don't know if you can do too much. You probably can. You can probably get it to a point where, you know, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it doesn't cure right or something like that. But I've always been taught 3 to 4 coats. And they always call them fat coats. So all right. Like I said, I hope this battery holds up for this video. Not that it's going to be fantastic, but it might be fantastic to someone. Hey, it's still holding up. Looks like we're still all right. Good deal. So yeah, what a mess. Once this is done here, once I get this primed up like this, it's going to sit. I'm going to let this sit for probably a couple of weeks, 10 days anyway, something like that. And I'm going to start getting this all back together. So that can do its shrinking and all that. So we don't have any sand scratches pop up, you know, 6 months from now. So, yeah, that's building pretty nice. I'm actually surprised. I'm glad I thinned it, but man, I was almost a little bit afraid it wasn't going to come out of that gun because it was so dang thick. I was like, oh my God, that's thick. And that's at the bottom of the, I was going to say too, that primer is what's left over from the Jeep. And so it's at the very bottom of the bucket. And so, you know, I've had it for a little bit, so I don't know how long. I think probably a couple years shelf life, maybe a year shelf life on that primer. But I know the activator, they say it's a lot shorter shelf life. So remember that. Make sure you look at your P sheets or contact your whoever you use and say, hey, if you've got activators sitting there, you noticed I opened that activator, it's brand new. Well, I marked on that activator that it's 1/17/21. That way I know once it's opened, it's only got so long before it's not good, because you don't want to spray this, say you that's over a year old and you spray this and then it doesn't activate. you got a problem. Now you got to take it all off and whatever because it didn't harden or cure out like it's supposed to. Or later on it causes a paint failure of some sort. So you kind of got to be careful with that. And when you do it like I do, when you're a shop, and you use it all the time. So you never have a problem with having too much just sitting around. Well, me, man, I don't do this that often. So it's better for me to buy all the products up for each individual vehicle. Well, this didn't warrant that because I had some product from the Jeep. So otherwise I'd have went out and bought, you know, maybe a pint or something of, I don't know, probably Matrix or something like that, primer. Since I've used Matrix primer before, it seems to be okay. I don't know. I'm sure there's better primer than others. I'm sure PPG and stuff like that, all the, you know, but man, like I said, as long as you let them kick out and shrink up and do their thing, you're going to probably be all right. But that's just my 2 cents. Somebody else may chime in and go, no, that's not the way it is. So if you want to chime in, chime in. Just don't be rude, because I will find you. I'm just kidding. That was a movie quote. By the way, I do a lot of movie quotes, and so the other day when I was saying I was going to put my bike in your trunk, that's from 40-Year-Old Virgin. A lot of you guys didn't get that. One guy did get it, but the rest of the people just kind of ignored it. So I don't know, you just didn't remember because it's an old movie. But at one point, he says he's going to put his bike in that girl's trunk, and she's like, oh, you're going to put your bike in my trunk. I thought that was funny. So... yeah, she's still kicking. And you can see where I brushed that on, so when I sand that, that's going to probably break back through, but that's all right. It'll be all right. You can paint over epoxy. If it breaks through too much, I may have to, after I sand it, I may have to go back and shoot another couple coats of high build over it and see what we got. Anytime you brush something like that on, obviously it's going to be thicker than if you sprayed it on. So yeah, like I said, the only thing that I worry about with this stuff being so thick, and the same with poly primer, is if it sits in your gun, it will set up and it will ruin your gun. And now I use Iwata guns. Now this is an Iwata Gunsa. It's an AZ3 HTE2. I've got 2 different tips for this. I got the 3.0 and I got the 2.0. 2.0 for just regular primer, and then of course my 3.0. There it is. And then my 3.0 for my poly primer. Well, this being regular primer, I thought, you know, no big deal. I'll just use the, which it worked. It looks like it worked out fine. It's going to work fine. But I didn't realize it was so dang thick. I was just like, holy crap. So, but yeah, this gun here is like $120 or $30, and it's a primer gun. So, and some people even use them. You can get them like 1.3 tips. You can use them for paint. Well, I like them. I like Iwata. That's one of my favorite. That's the guns I use is Iwata LPH 400s. I've never used a SATA. Hell, if I use a SATA, I may just completely fall in love. But up to this point, I've never used one, so I don't know the difference. I started out in the body shop, and he had Iwatas, and I learned with that, and I thought, well, if I can find some. Went to a pawn shop, found 2 Iwatas, and bought both of them, and had both of them rebuilt. And so, yeah, for pretty cheap, I got 2 really expensive guns that work really, really good. So keep your eyes out open on stuff like that. Painters that, you know, are having hard times, have to pawn their guns or whatever. And I hope you can hear me through this mask because it's a little muffled. I could probably take it off actually, but I'm afraid I might hit the GoPro and knock it out. I turned that off so it won't blow and, you know, everything. It's still probably at least 70 degrees in here. So then once I get all this done, I'll kick that back up to about 70, 75 degrees and keep it like that. and let that, I usually keep it about 67 degrees in here at all times. But some primers don't want you to go below 65 or whatever. I think SBI, that's the thing. They need the metal to be at least 65 degrees. These high build primers may be different. They may not care. You may be able to spray that at 50 degrees and be fine. It probably just takes longer to flash. But looks like the bodywork turned out real good. I mean, just with what I got there. Of course, once I block that out, it'll be even better. Because, you know, any kind of little imperfections, that's what that high build's for, is to knock any of that stuff out. But as far as the overall appearance, it looks like it turned out pretty nice. You can see I put, those are automatically in there because I did the silicone bronze, and so I just, once I did my filler work, I cut all that back down to the silicone bronze, then run my epoxy back over the silicone bronze. The silicone bronze itself will actually seal that. You won't need, it's like this is not going to need seam sealer, except for right back up in here. And then I'm going to seam seal underneath the underside. But that won't need seam sealer now because it's solid. Plus you got to figure once you paint it, once you clear coat it, once you do all that, I mean, then you're, ain't nothing going to penetrate unless it penetrates from the underside. But I had that seamed up pretty good. There's no pinholes or nothing like that in it. So anyway, a lot of the high dollar end shops, roadster shop and all that, they're using this silicone bronze on their overlap joints, and it looks awesome. Of course they cover it up, but while it's in that, while it's bare metal and then gold, it just is beautiful. It looks like a friggin' piece of jewelry. Of course then they cover it up and you can't see it, but all right, she's looking pretty flashed. I've got one spot there that maybe just where I went back over that side. Probably I'll let it give it another little bit. About 20 after right now. Really, this channel back in here, I didn't really need to get that. I just did because there's going to be adhesive in there, and then there's also going to be your come on brain, kick it out of there, your seal. You get old, man, it just, or at least for me, it just gets rougher finding words. The way it is, at least in my house. All right, so that's coming out nice and clean. I don't have to worry about my gun being all jacked up and having this sit up like concrete in my gun. Might want to roll that around a little bit, because that's going to get thicker too as it sits. And you'll notice as you keep going, each coat is going to get harder and harder to spray, or at least when it's thick like that. All right, light, there you go. I like these decups pretty well. The only problem I have with them is the very last bit won't shoot out. You have to put your finger over this and blow your cup back up because it wants to crinkle down. I think some of the other ones don't do that, so I've never tried any of the other ones. I probably should try the PPS cups and see how they work, because they'll probably be way better. And you can see right there all the lacquer thinner I had in there just shot out. So you want to make sure you do that, because you don't want to shoot lacquer thinner over that. And then come back and make sure you got your little cigar pattern, and then get after it. That right there is what happens when you don't put a filter in your deal. It shoots out a clump of crap. That's alright though, I'll sand it out, it'll be fine. With this, you don't want a hard edge, that's what you're looking for there. So that's the second good coat. The other thing I like to do on these is keep this not up here or this up here. That way when you're shooting, if you have to shoot over a hood, you don't have this thing kicked up on your arm. Oh yeah. I got at least another coat, depending on how it starts shooting out. You see it's really built up good there. It's starting to clear out over here already. But yeah, it's gonna be some good high build there. I'll have lots of sand. So I think my respirator here is probably done, because I can, if you can smell the fumes, I don't know that that's necessarily a good sign. You're supposed to switch these out like every couple months or something like that. Keep them sealed in a bag. But I use mine a lot longer than that. Shouldn't, but I do. Well, alright, what else? I may just kill it at that, because this battery's probably going to go dead on me. And you just see pretty much the process. I'm going to do it one more time. This video is looking like 30 minutes long, so I may have to cut some of it. Alright, there it is unwrapped. You can see these feathered out pretty good. It's not going to be such a hard line there. I'm going to have to straighten these up. I knew I was going to have to do that. Just sandpaper and get them all nice and crisp. Same with this one. It's just sand them out a little bit and get them nice and pretty before paint. Same thing, this one fade, you know, kind of just, you can see where it fuzzed out like that. That's what you want. But yeah, all these chunks of crap will sand out of there, won't be a big deal. But there you go, just figured I'd show you the end result. I got most of that back there. Of course, that's still that etch primer down there you see red, and I'm gonna paint that splatter paint over top of that, so that'll disappear. And so yeah, I like it. I'm happy. I think the paint will turn out good. And so we'll do the same thing. I'll probably, when I paint it though, I'll probably go ahead and hopefully have this done and get some of this moved out of here so I can get it back there close to that fan so I can actually suck the stuff out away from it. Suck the paint fumes and the clear coat and all that. Primer's not that bad, but like, you know, clear coat's gonna be ridiculous, so it gets pretty foggy. So I'll have to set up some
ventilation, filters, stuff like that. But yep, there you go. So we'll let that sit for a while, and we'll get back over here and get these rest of this stuff back together. And so hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll talk to you next time.